See if I can actually stand up. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Evansville. Opening hymn is number 1022 in the teal hymnal. Stand if you're willing and able, please. And Mark will go for it.
This song's called Open the Window. It's a little kaleidoscope-y. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Okay, who's never heard this song before? All right, we're gonna do the chorus one more time, then we're just gonna go with it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and open the window, children. window, let the dove fly in. Mama and Papa are fighting like snakes. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Baby is a crying like a heart will break. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Everybody, open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Neighbors like the doors built and high. Open the window, let the dove fly in. See what's to discover on the other side. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Oh, open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Borders round country, borders round the sky. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Only borders close you in the border around your mind. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Some people have money, some people have none. Open the window, let the dove fly in. What's the use of money if your heart's gone numb? Open the window, let the dove fly in. Oh, open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, let the dove fly in. This big old world is in a great big mess. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Open the window, find peace and rest. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Oh, open the window, children. Open the window now. Open the window, children. Open the window, let the dove fly in. Oh, open the window, let the dove fly in.
Good morning. I'm Ken Willingham. I get to be the official, unofficial, whatever it is, leader this morning. Oh, now, by the way, is a good time to silence your phones. So ours is a welcoming community where we find connection and meaning, a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We also welcome guests from Facebook Live and our Zoom audience. We welcome everyone, no matter who you are. All are welcome here. Our musician today is Mark. Tech is Nancy at the back table, and Molly's at home running the online service. Do we have any visitors this morning? If you'd like, not to make it uncomfortable, just introduce yourself, where you're from, that's it. Just my name is and I'm from.
My name is Helen. I'm from here in Evansville. I've been here off and on the last.
Okay. Well, welcome. Yeah, this is where we get to greet you properly at the meet and greet, which is upcoming. Okay, two. Were there any online visitors? That would be a no. Okay. So, church announcements. Anyone have an announcement about this place? Your announcement free today? Goodness gracious. Okay, Ashley has one.
Just as a save the date, on Wednesday, July 24th, we have rented out one of the pool rooms at Burdette. So just be on the lookout for a sign-up sheet. We don't have one just yet, and more details will come, but that will also be included in the compass. So in case you forget that date, it will be handy in that reference newsletter. If you have any questions before that or after, let me know.
Thank you. Okay, if that's it, each week we spend a few minutes stepping across the aisle to meet and greet and welcome each other this fine day. And I will ding the dong when it's time to come back to your seats. Go for it. About ready? Thank you very much, Mark. So now we'll light our chalice. May I have a volunteer, please, to light the chalice? Thank you. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires this faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirit and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of the love we need, the love we give, the love we are challenged always to remember and to share. Yeah, you need to put those out. Thank you. This is a handy little gadget. Puts the flame out. So at this time, we'll take our offering. May I have 2 volunteers, please, to take the offerings? This offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. An offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. Thank you very much for your generosity this morning. I could have said, if you're new here or you're a guest, let it pass, but I forgot that part. Ashley, there's no story this morning. Do you want to do a sing out? Okay. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Now we do this so the children have someplace better to go and better, more understandable to go, and Ashley takes care of their education. Thank you, Ashley. Opening words. Barbara will have our opening words this morning.
Good morning. Well, our topic today is restorative justice. This is from Howard Zehr. He's an American criminologist and a pioneer in restorative justice. Restorative justice is respect. Respect for all, even those who are different from us, even those who seem to be our enemies. Respect reminds us of our interconnectedness, but also of our differences. Respect insists we balance concerns for all parties. If we pursue justice as respect, we will do justice restoratively.
Thank you, Barbara. So we take a few moments each week to reflect on our joys and our sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of time. Now we'll take a few minutes to sit quietly, meditate, pray, whatever it is you do. But I want you to feel the energy around you, feel the energy in your own heart, because your heart is the major energy source of your body. It's not your brain, it's your heart. The heart communicates more to the brain than the brain does to the heart. That's been well proven now. So remember, you fill your heart with whatever it is you want to touch on. And you go out a full 2 meters in each direction, all directions. And when we come out, we'll sing Spirit of Life, number 123 in the Great Hymnal.
the stirrings of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free.
Barbara.
Good morning again. So, as I said earlier, our topic is restorative justice. And I first learned about this back in about 2001 in my past life as a freelance writer. And I wrote about the topic for Science of Mind magazine. And I'm going to talk about two people in this talk. And I interviewed both of them way back when. So our traditional legal system has no provisions for healing, either for victims or offenders. Its only aim is vengeance, albeit in a civilized way. This process often leaves victims feeling re-victimized and offenders angry at punishment imposed from an outside source, an outside authority figure, making them more prone to recidivism and/or non-payment of restitution. Because victims and offenders don't heal, neither does society. One solution to this depressing situation is restorative justice, which is a form of victim-offender mediation that can be very spiritual. I'm sorry. I'm so tired after that stupid phone call last night. And it's voluntary to all parties. It brings together all those involved or affected by a crime, victim, offender, their families, and communities, to be directly involved in responding to the harm that was caused. Restorative justice interventions require far more responsible behavior from offenders who agree to face-to-face meetings with their victims to make amends in a mutually agreeable way. So restorative justice is not always applicable, and it's not meant to be a whitewash, especially for violent crimes. At the same time, there's a major point to remember that is usually ignored by the criminal justice system. Even the most violent killers are victims. This does not excuse them, but as one experienced practitioner of restorative justice says, they did not come into the world as killers, but as precious babies. Restorative justice has gained acceptance in nearly all 50 states. And while it's being used primarily with first-time offenders and juveniles, particularly for property crimes, it's also being used successfully in drunk driving fatalities and even murders. As one practitioner has said, restorative justice provides an experience of connectedness, wholeness, and the sacredness of life. It's a service based on unconditional love and unconditional positive regard. So here's the story, the first story. In California in 1991, 5 young people believed that a home contained a safe full of cash, and they broke in one night. Cheryl Ward Kaiser was pinned to the floor with a foot on her back for 45 minutes as another of the men raped her daughter with a shotgun. Her husband tried to stop it and was murdered. Cheryl decided not to be re-victimized by the criminal justice system and to fight for justice, not vengeance, for the people who wrecked her life. She said what they did warranted consequences, but not vengeance. Vengeance is an eye for an eye, while justice is you have consequence and you pay for your actions. During the trials of the 4 young men and the 16-year-old girl who drove the getaway car, she was not allowed into the courtroom by the defense attorneys who felt she would be too strong of a victim who might sway the juries into a guilty verdict. Even so, she went in during recesses to see the offenders because she believed they needed to see her face and be accountable to her. And as a Catholic, she says she didn't hate them. You have to make a choice to hate. She says, it's wrong. It's not what God told me to do. And with that realization, she says she got her power back. a crucial aspect of a victim's healing. She fought for the man who shot her husband to receive life without parole instead of execution because she does not believe in the death penalty. Through a reconciliation program in effect at the time, it's similar to restorative justice. She helped the girl receive rehabilitation during her imprisonment. She told the man who kept her pinned down that she would be there for him when he was released from prison in 2009, and she was. She even shocked the parole board when she appeared before them and argued for the release of some of the offenders. She later became an outspoken advocate for survivors of violent crime, and now, at nearly 80, she continues in that role. Cheryl is not alone in not wanting revenge on her perpetrators. A national survey in 2016 by the Alliance on Safety and Justice found that long sentences are often justified in the name of victims. Yet, contrary to popular narrative, most victims of violence want violence prevention, not incarceration. There are now thousands of stories of restorative justice around the country. And while not many are nearly as dramatic as Cheryl's, many have changed the lives of survivors and offenders for the better. So let's look at restorative justice in a little more depth. Indigenous peoples in Canada and the United States, as well as the Maori in New Zealand, had, and some still have, similar traditions before Western colonizers discounted and repressed them. And the modern practice of restorative justice was begun in the Canadian Mennonite community in the 1970s. Its programs share certain characteristics, according to Howard Zehr, who I presented his words as opening words. As I said, he's an American criminologist and a pioneer in the concept of restorative justice. And it differs from traditional criminal justice in terms of the guiding questions it asks. In restorative justice, the questions are, who has been hurt? What are their needs? Whose obligations are these? What are the causes? Who has a stake in the situation? And what is the appropriate process to involve stakeholders in an effort to address causes and put things right? And in contrast to that, traditional criminal justice asks, what laws have been broken? Who did it? And what do the offenders deserve? Participation in restorative justice mediation is voluntary, and participants prepare with a trained mediator before meeting face-to-face if a meeting is deemed appropriate. Everyone who has been touched by a crime or violation is invited to participate. That includes victims, offenders, and their communities. Notice how this is in contrast to the traditional offender-driven justice system, which actively discourages this. Restorative justice engages crime victims, offenders, and community members in holding offenders accountable and getting the needs of the victims met, but not in a vigilante way. The traditional criminal justice system alienates crime victims who have no legal standing and are often re-victimized by the process. And the offenders are shielded from what they've done and from coming face-to-face with the victim. And as one practitioner of restorative justice says, we focus on offenders' weightlifting needs in prison, but not their need to know what they did. The American Bar Association has endorsed victim offender mediation and recommended its development in all U.S. courts. Empirical studies have shown that these programs are having measurable positive results in the form of much higher restitution and lower recidivism rates than the traditional criminal justice system. As I said earlier, it's most often used in property crimes and with first-time offenders, often juveniles. Yet, as Cheryl Ward Kaiser's story and others show, it sometimes can successfully be used for more serious and even violent crimes. Even when restitution or total repair of the damage is not possible, as with murder, rape, or drunk driving fatalities, victims often come away satisfied to have had their concerns listened to and questions answered by the offender. For their part, offenders can find more peace within themselves as they take personal responsibility for their actions and make amends as best they can. Here are a few words, though, on mediation from Howard Zehr. So even when an encounter occurs on all the parties in restorative justice, the term mediation is not a fitting description of what could happen. In a mediated conflict or dispute, parties are assumed to be on a level moral playing field, often with responsibilities that may need to be shared on all sides. Well, this sense of shared blame may be true in some criminal cases. In many cases, it is not. Victims of rapes or even burglaries do not want to be known as disputants. In fact, they may well be struggling to overcome a tendency to blame themselves. At any rate, to participate in most restorative justice encounters, a wrongdoer must admit to some level of responsibility for the offense, and an important component of such programs is to name and acknowledge the wrongdoing. The neutral language of mediation may be misleading and even offensive in many cases. And although the term mediation was adopted early on in the restorative justice field, it is increasingly being replaced by terms such as conferencing or dialogue for the reasons just outlined. Here's another story, this time from an offender. In 1992, Joe Avila drove drunk one night and killed 17-year-old Amy Wall. He had self-described acute alcoholism. Yet while he was out on bail before his trial, he attended a 6-month Salvation Army sobriety program and realized the deep impact of his actions on Amy's family. About the same time, he also learned about restorative justice. So he chose to plead guilty, knowing that even though he could not restore her life, he could accept the consequences. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. During that time, he facilitated restorative justice groups and served the prison's hospice patients. He was released in 1999 and went home to his family. Amy's family had never wanted to meet with him. Yet sometime after his release, Amy's brother Derek and then her father Rick, and even later her mother, contacted Joe and met with him. They explained how much Amy meant to them and how their lives had been affected by losing her through Joe's terrible action. Joe said he was sincerely sorry for what he had done and hoped that the Wall family could someday forgive him. Later on, when Joe, Derek, and Rick later spoke at a restorative justice council in front of hundreds of people, Rick approached Joe, hugged him, and told Joe he loved him. Since that time, Joe has continued to serve the prison population and their families through various programs. Cheryl Ward Kaiser forgave her offenders early on, which is unusual, very unusual. Some survivors of violent crime never do, or they take many years to come to that point. Restorative justice practitioners warn that it's crucial to never push survivors to forgive their offenders or to impose guilt on them if they do not. There must never be the expectation of forgiveness after the process. True forgiveness, they say, must arise within the person. Unfortunately, many faith communities can burden survivors with telling them to forgive without first hearing and understanding their pain. If they are told to forgive because God wants them to, and they have not been listened to, being asked to forgive often becomes another wound. Survivors of violent crime are often told to forgive and forget, yet they cannot forget. So if they want to discuss forgiveness even in the first place, it's more effective and appropriate to tell them, forgive, yet remember. As Desmond Tutu said, forgiving is not forgetting, it's actually remembering and not using your right to hit back. It's a second chance for a new beginning, and the remembering part is particularly important, especially if you don't want to repeat what happened. So it's important to remember that not forgiving, it's a legitimate response to being seriously harmed. Another major failing of the traditional criminal justice system is that it ignores restoration of the community. Crime affects entire communities in webs that stretch far beyond the original participants. Reconciling survivors and offenders when possible goes a long way toward restoring communities. If, for instance, an early restorative justice intervention with juvenile offenders causes them to back away from crime, the community becomes safer now and in the future. And in cases like Joe Avila's that involved drunk driving, his decision to continue speaking out about the harm he caused and the impact of his actions can reduce the possibility of further such accidents. Restorative justice has potential to reshape the relationships of both victims and offenders to the world they live in, particularly around the possibility for relationships. Relationships that allow truth to be told and change to be fully acknowledged, knowing there is a way forward, not just for the victim and the offender, but for the community as well. And another restorative justice practitioner I interviewed for my story said, restorative justice is more important for community building than for resolving individual crime events. But mediation brings people together and can change the nature of their relationships in a positive manner. Isolation, disconnection, no sense of reciprocity with the larger community. If we could change this, people would be less likely to harm others. So of course, restorative justice has its detractors as well as defenders, and its negatives as well as positives. It is not a perfect practice. As I said earlier, it's more effective in property crimes and with first-time juvenile offenders than with violent crime and older offenders. And it can be hardest to apply in sexual assault cases. So here are some final words from Miriam Kaba, an American activist, grassroots organizer, and educator who advocates for the abolition of the prison industrial complex. She says, "Simple stories of the perfect victim and the monstrous perpetrator bend reality to fit the pretext for state violence, helping us to pretend that the physical, emotional, social, and civic injuries of prison are somehow justice." Thank you. Any comments or questions? I know it's a lot to take in. I don't know if I was harmed by some kind of serious crime, if I could forgive the person who did it. But I am intrigued by the possibility that there is a way out there for people who want to go through that process. And it has a big effect on the offenders, too. There are many, many stories of offenders from like juveniles up to, as you saw in the talk, people who have committed very serious crimes. And maybe the person who committed the crime will be in prison for life. But if they are able to talk with the person they hurt, it does bring them some notion of peace because they've admitted to what they've done. They're not trying to hide from it or run from it, which can be very difficult to sustain. Anybody? Come up to the microphone, please.
I don't know how many of you remember the old movie, and it is also a play, Dead Men Walking. That was a project that I did with my high school students in El Paso. In order to get permission to do that play, it's owned by Sister Progine and her organization. It's not out for general publication. You have to prove that you have a plan to open it for community discussion after it's finished. You have to have some people who are trained to lead the discussions. You have to, to have a whole program in place before you can put the play on. We got permission to do it. In fact, they were thrilled that a school in Texas wanted to put their play on because it was, very much against capital punishment. And of course, that's a favorite sport in Texas. So we did it, and not Sister Progine, but the woman who is working the organization for her now, because she's pretty old now, came to see the play from the other side of Texas, which is not like saying from the other side of Indiana. She probably came 1,000 miles to come see the play that we put on in our high school, and it was quite rewarding. But the ability to talk to young people as well as our community about the chance that it is possible to open your heart to someone who killed a family member and to still fight for them not to be put to death was quite an eye-opening discussion. It is not, the organization is, anti-death penalty, but the discussions were open to, let's talk about all sides of this and how would you feel and what would you do? And it was a really very, very moving
Yeah, that would be good if you could update your internet provider if it's possible. Can you hear me okay?
One week, we're like oaks of righteousness stand. Her people, oh, come build a land. My people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Thank you, Mark. So in the order of service are the words to extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. And carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words.
Our closing words today are from Bernice King, daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. Justice and revenge are not the same thing. Justice is a continuum that includes accountability, change toward preventing further injustice, strategic hope, etc. As my father said, justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay. So that ends our service for today. Be around here again next week if you choose to come. Thank you very much. Go in peace. May your being bless the world.